Okay, so in our last session, basically, we have discussed about data pages, and then we have seen that, how, with the help of a data page, we can improve our performance. I mean, because when it comes to data page, so data page, every time it cannot go to the table and fetch the data. It loads the data once, and next time onwards, if you want, I mean, if you're fetching the same data, then the Pega data page, I mean, the data page, will use the same data. So unnecessarily, I mean, going to the table and getting that data again, that path, we actually, we can escape it. So that's the reason, or like data page is very useful in the real time, when because in real time, we talk about a lot of performance, because if your application is very slow, it doesn't, in today's world, basically, so it's something, it's the client will not be happy, right? So our customer, anyone, will not be happy. So we're just, thinking of all those aspects, I mean, we should think about, how our process is faster, I mean, then, like that. So these are the small things that, we need to consider, while doing coding, reusability, and then, using the right rules like data pages instead of report definition in a proper places, basically. Okay. So like that. So now today also we'll talk about data page only. Okay, so we'll talk about two things today. One is Savable Data Page, and then we'll see, cascading dynamic select, for example, I mean, one drop down is depending upon another drop down. Like for example, we'll take example of country and state. Like for example, in one country, like if I select India as a country, then I should be only see India's related state. Like if I select USA, then I should be able to see only USA states, basically. Okay, so now then, let's talk about Sable data page first. So now Sable data page. Okay, so now Sable, as the name only suggests, what will it do is, it will save your data into the table. So already, we have one table, right? I mean, data table as a bank details. So what we'll do is, we'll take a scenario where in which, let's say, user will enter the details. For example, let's say the user wants to add a new record here, let's say the new bank, or let's say Yes Bank, or Standard Chartered Bank, whatever that new bank, user wants to add it over here, or let's say existing record also. For example, existing means, let's say ICICI Bank will say that, okay, we are changing our head office from Hyderabad to Kolkata or Gurgaon, or somewhere else, basically. So that also is possible. So that we'll be doing it with the help of our Savable data page. So we'll see, how can we do that. So whenever you create any data page, sorry, data type, so the Pega will create 3 data pages for you. Okay, so one of them will be Savable data page only. So what you can do that, if you open that up, so you can see that the mode is Savable, and then what it is doing, it is basically, it is doing two things. One, it is lookup, means it will fetch that particular record, and then it will, and then later on you can just update that particular record with the help of this, database save. So like that, so we'll see. So now what we'll do is, let's say here it is account opening. Okay, so here now let's say if I'll run this process, loan process. Yeah, so already, what I've done here is loan process. So so already I have added one screen here. I mean, where much user, can enter or get, details. For example, user can select, okay, whether Easy wants to update the existing record, or he wants to add a new record. If he wants to add the existing record, then as soon as he enters, let's say one, then automatically, that all the records, basically, everything, I mean, that head office, bank location, and bank name should pre-populate in the editable mode. And then let's say if I'll change head office from Hyderabad to Pune, then if I'll create it, if I'll submit that, then on submit, we'll call that a report definition, and then sorry, the savable data piece, and that particular information will save it back to the table. Okay, so now first thing, so okay, so now So like let's say let's say if I'll enter 1, 2, 3, whatever the records I enter. So on change of this, like these three fields should populate, right? So for that, what we'll do is we'll write one data transform. So on change of this, we'll refresh the section and we'll call this set bank details. Okay. So here, okay, what are those? These? Let me just bank head office, bank location, bank name, head office, bank location, and bank name. Okay, so this one we have to set it right. So now this one will come from the data type, right? So from the data type, if you see that, so already like there is one more data page is there, which is a page structure. I mean, it will return only one data and which is lookup. So now if you run this data page, Pega will ask you, okay, what is the ID? So we'll enter one, and then if you run it, you can see that the Pega is giving you that one details like Hyderabad location and Hyderabad bank location, bank name, and bank head office. So we'll be using the same data page. So how to use this, like now this one, and then just type is this data page name, and then here like you have to give the parameter, right? So what parameter it is, so you have to go to the parameter tab and just give the ID over here, and then what is the ID? So now I can give 0, 1 also, but it's hard coded, right? So now I don't want to hard code it. I want to make it dynamic. So this ID value basically will come from which property? So which will come from this property, right? So whatever that a user will enter in this value, so that will go as a parameter to that data page. So if you go here, so here it is dot this. And then after that dot, so it is like bank head office. So yeah, so just copy it and paste it there. That's it. So in the similar way, like we have to set bank location. So this is how like you can call a data page from a data transform. Okay, so and the square brackets are there because this will like because this data page will accept parameters. So now let's say if there are two parameters will your data page will accept. So now, so in that case you have to just give comma. I mean actually like for example, uh for example, let's say like you are fetching the data with the help of two values like ID and name. So what, just simply say comma and then say parameter name comma and then colon and then whatever that dot like or param dot anything that you can give. So like that. So and just this parameter name. So it's better like go to your data page and then go to the parameters tab and copy it from there instead of typing it so so that you'll not make any spelling mistakes or uppercase lowercase, all that issues will go away. So now our data page is, sorry, data transform is ready. So now on change of this bank ID, so we'll refresh this section and then we'll call this data transform. So set bank details. That's it, save it. And then now let's test it, like let's see how it's working or not. So now I'll run the small process. So okay, so now let's say if I'll say 1, so now I can see that now it's Hyderabad. So now you can see that like I mean it's getting populated. So now if I'll say 2, and then you can see that like the two bank ID is Chennai, and then the bank location is Chennai, and then 3 it's this, and then if you type 4, then it's nothing will come because we haven't there is no record itself. Okay, so now this is like so this is we have done that. So now so now user basically like okay yeah, am I audible, right?
Oh, yes, Pankaj.
Yeah, because I saw Aarti Vidya, like, they're joining back again, so I thought I got disconnected. Okay. So yeah, okay. So now, so this like first step is done. So now the user will get that, and then after that, user can decide. Okay, like let's say because of this is bank ID, so this is ID, so user cannot change this. So, but the bank head office, let's say if the bank head office has changed from Hyderabad to Pune, and then the next job is like let's say I'll say Pune here, and now if I'll submit this, then after that, this record basically like for ICICI Bank the head office is changed to Pune instead of Hyderabad. So now if I'll continue it, nothing will happen because I'm not asking or I'm not saying Pega basically like to change to do any action basically. Okay. So now what to do is like so we can just like so now we know that right we have flow action pro processing post processing, sorry. So now if I'll open this post processing, so now submit of this one. So now what we can do is we can call, you can see that savable data page. So we can also call data transform, sorry, activity data transform, and as well as in the post processing you can call a savable data page as well. Okay, so it's a conditionally one. So based on some conditional, you can you can configure it. So now already we have one data page, savable data page. So let's make use of that. So now what we'll do is we'll just already ID is there. So now let's run it and see like how it is. Okay, so you can see that its ID is over here. So now so, and then after that, like, so in the database save option, so we'll call one more data transform here. Okay, to like, and this will basically like, set whatever the properties that we are setting on this screen. So it will, set it on that, on that current parameter page, or I mean, sorry, the primary page, and then, it will save it. Okay, so now we'll call this data page. Okay, and then ID is bank ID. Oh, no. Okay, so now it's done. And now, okay, now we'll see like, what happens. So now we'll see, okay, okay, so this is done. And now let's say if I change it from Hyderabad to Pune, and now if I'll try to continue it, okay, so now that's got submitted, and let's say like, whether it got updated or not. So now let's go to the data type and go to a table. Records, and still you can see that like it's still the head office is still Hyderabad. Okay, and the reason why it's still Hyderabad because like in the data page in the data the savable data in this this is savable data page. So what we are doing is like we are opening it with the help of it, and then same data we are copying it like same data we are saving it back. But we don't want to save this. I mean save the same data, right? I mean if the user has to like whatever the data that user will enter in this screen. So that this data basically we have to save it. So for that we'll just write. You can write one more extra data transform here before saving it. So before saving it, like we can set some data inside this part. So now you can see that set bank details. And then you can see that like Pega is trying to create it in this data class. And then now if I say create an open, and now you can see that okay, head office, and this head office will come from that pure work page. Like that is our primary page, right? So this pure work page will just specify in our pages and classes. So this is of our class BOE dash. This is our from main class. Okay, and now pure work page dot bank head office. bank location and bank name. Okay, so this is done, and now we'll just go to the data savable data page and we'll save it. Now let's see, like, what happens. Okay, so now, okay, and also this is value is equals to param dot. Yeah. So now let's see, like, what happens, and then now we'll we'll run another case. Okay, and now we'll say one. Okay, Hyderabad, and we'll just change this to Pune, and now continue it. Okay, and now come back. Okay, so now also it will go to a bank. This one. Okay, so now we can see that, I mean, that's changed. Like, a bank head office has changed from Hyderabad to Pune. And a similar way, like, let's say a bank location, I also, or no, I want to change it from Hyderabad to Pune. So just go there, and then from here, I'll just say it to Pune, and then just submit this. And now again, go to this, uh, I mean, our this buying details data type, and now it's heads up because I didn't refresh it. So now once you refresh it, so once you refresh it, it gets, you will see the updated value. So this way, basically, you can update the existing value. And like, for example, too, like, so we have given only CHE, like, let's say I want to give that, entire name, Chennai, India, like that. So now let's say if it's two, and then it's Chennai, comma, India. There it is. Oh, okay, so it's something. Okay, so here in this one, so what? So I didn't create a separate data savable data page. So I'm just reusing the same one. So what we have it like, so whenever you create a data type, right? So now we'll see that the usage type, you will see three types of data pages. So I didn't create a new one. So only that, this savable data page, like, I've updated it with the one thing which is called as this data transform. So I have added this data transform, and the reason why I've added this data transform because now we have to, like, save the updated values. All right. So this lookup means it will open that particular instance. Like, it is opening that, whatever that number we are giving it with the help of lookup, the Pega will open that particular instance. And then after that, if you see that after that, if you'll see that the next step, what this data page is doing, like, it is saving your data, but it is you'll see that, like, this data transform will not be available. So, in your case, so this data transform, like, again, it is opening it and saving the same data back, like, which we don't want it, right? So what we want is, like, we want that data to be, like, whatever the user has updated it, so that data we want to store it. So that's the reason, like, I'm writing this data transform, which will set these three properties from this pure workpage, pure workpage, pure workpage. So now, because at the runtime, these properties, we are setting it under pure workpage, right? And the primary page, which will be acting as a primary page in this case. So that primary page, like, I mean, like that. So now what will the Pega will do? Like, it will take this value, whatever that user has entered, Chennai, Pune, Hyderabad, whatever. So it will set it over here. And then after that one, the Pega will, save that particular value only to this table, like that. So that is what, it will happen. So, but this one, Pega will automatically. So, if you are creating a new savable data page, okay. So now that time, you have to. So automatically the Pega will add it. So now let's say if I'll create a existing one. For example, let's say I want to add a new record. For example, four. Like, I mean, I'll give four, and then let's say I'll say some, sample and sample. So now if I'll try to continue it, you can see that, Pega is throwing in the error saying that, this is the one. No record were found, with the key is ID is equals to 4. For that, basically, we'll create another data page, like another Savable data page, which will be useful for adding a new record. Okay, so now let's see, how. So now till now for this updating the existing record, I have used the same data page. So, but for this adding a new record, let's create a new one. So now just go here and say create, and and then you can see that, I mean, even though, if you add, give the name as, let's say, add new bank details. So you can see that the Pega will always give you the prefix as this, even though if it's a Savable, whatever the data page it is, your data page will start with D underscore only. Okay, so now let's say this, and now this is our so it's a Savable data page. So as soon as you do that, you can see that the Pega will automatically add this option, Savable data option. Sorry, the data save option. So now if I'll change it to something else, let's say read only. Now if you go down, like that option will not be there. So that option Pega will automatically add it. So if it's Savable, you can see that data save option got added over here. Okay, and now in this case, let's say I'll writing a so what I'm doing here is okay, so now what I'm doing here is, because this time, it's a new record, right? So no need to open a new record. I mean, open an existing record. So because the source here is, you can see that it's mandatory. So what you can do is you can just say data transform, and then there is one out of the box data transform which is called as empty. So just give empty, and then after that. So after that, whatever, again, the same one, you can call the same, let's say, set new bank details. So here, I mean, you can just set the bank, let's say ID is equals to your work page. Okay, bank ID, and then the bank head office is equals to py work page dot bank head office. Then bank name, or let's say bank location, is equals to py work page dot bank location, and the last one is bank name. That's it, and then save this data page as well. Okay, and that's it, so now let's see, how it goes. And yeah, and before that, how okay, so now but we have only one flow action, right? So now, where is it? Yeah, so one flow action, right? So now how will the Pega knows, okay, which one to call? So here, now that this condition will come into the picture, so now we can just create one when rule as, is new bank details. So now how come will the Pega knows, it's a new bank details? So already, I have created one property, right? So which I've shown you, bank status. If it has a value as new, then, it's new. For example, I was talking about this one, this drop down. If it's new, and then if it's existing. Is existing bank details. And okay, that's it. So okay, so now just close everything. And now from the fresh, I'll open that flow action. Okay, so now this data transform, we'll call it when it's new one, and then we can call this data type, if it's existing, if it's new one. Sorry, this one, we'll call it for existing one. If it's existing data, if it's existing bank details, then we'll open that particular bank details and then and then update it. But whereas if it's a new one, so whereas when it's a Okay, so but whereas when if it's a new bank details, so we'll call this data page. Okay, and where in which no parameter, nothing, because it's a new one. So okay, so now let's do that. So now let's uh, run this process again. And now let's say that now this drop down will be very initial. So now let's say if I'll say new, and now if I'll say for bank, let's say bank head office, let's say it's in let's say Delhi. And then it's bank location is again, let's say, is me, and that's yes, and this yes. So now let's verify it in our table. You can see that the fourth record got updated as whatever that we have added it. So now let's say Yes Bank said that, oh no, I mean we have changed our location to Hyderabad. So now what will the user can do it? Again user can have it and say this time we will select existing, and then once that if it's full, then all the data will come here, and then from here to let's say from Hyderabad, and then it's Hyderabad. Okay. That's it. Continue it. And now, if we refresh it, you can see that the fourth record, got updated with Hyderabad. So this is how basically you can use your Savable Data Page to not even to add a new record to a table. I mean, so I'm doing it with that internal table with a data type, but the same thing, same logic you can do it for the external table as well. I'm which let's say some external tables are there, employee tables, customer table, or whatever the records that you have it, you can do it for that too. Okay, so and so same data, I mean Savable Data Page, not only it will add a new record to a table, but also I mean that existing record is there, so that also you can update it. So so these are the things so this is what about we have about Savable Data Page. Yeah, no. Okay, so but yeah, all that you need to see, all that you have to be careful about for the new data, for the new record. There is nothing I mean, you don't have to go to the parameters, nothing, because nothing you have to open it. But for the existing one, you have to just choose a lookup one, so that you can open that particular instance. What it's very much similar to what we have OBJ open and OBJ save in an activity. So same thing, I'm not saying that I mean for saving or for saving or adding a new record, only data savable data page is the option. But I mean same thing we can do it with an activity also. In most of the cases, in the most of the Pega application, you will see that we would have done it using an activity, because at that time savable data page wasn't there. Okay, so it's newly added here. So so, and also there are some cases where the savable data page will not be helpful, but again, wherever it's there, so you can just use it, wherever, if you feel that it's you can think that okay, it will work here. I mean, for example, in this case, you can go ahead with the Savable Data Page instead of writing an activity, which is not a good practice to do that. Okay. Okay, yeah, thank you. Okay, so now for that, let's create two data type, okay, let's say it's the country name. Okay, and now Okay, data model, add fields, let's say ID and name. Okay, that's it. Okay, for now, so there are two properties, ID and name. Okay, and then let's go to, okay, let's add one more as well, code. Okay, and now we'll go to configure source, and now this is our ID. Okay, so now let's add the record. Let's say one. The code is India, IND, and then it's India. Then let's say second one, it's USA, United States of America. Okay, and now third one is, let's say, UK Kingdom, and then the fourth one is, let's say, um, Saudi Arabia. So it's yeah, and now fifth one, I know, let's say it's Australia. Okay, so now like so now okay, so now let's create another one which is called as add data type. So here it is a state list. Okay, so here it is in one column will be ID, and then code, the country code, and then the name, uh, then it's a state code. Okay, so now four properties are here. So now let's configure the source. This. Okay, so now it's a one, and the state code is, let's say, T, which is mm, Telangana, and then the country code is IND. The second one is again, it's let's say Tamil Nadu. So here is Tamil Nadu. So here it is, let's say country is this. Okay, and then now, okay, and then I'm just adding only two states, like for countries. So here it's three is let's say California, Cal, it's California. So country code is USA, and then it's fourth one is Texas. Okay, it's TX, let's say. It's USA, and then the fifth one is let's say it's for Riyadh. Uh, State is Riyadh. It's Saudi Arabia, and now six one is London, and London, which is UK, and then it's seventh one is Australia. Okay, so for that, we'll add as Any state name? I'm not able to. Okay, so let's say, mm, just giving, or let's say, let's leave it. I'm not able to, mm, don't mind the state. Okay. So, okay. So now I'll save it. Okay. So, okay. So now that I have added some records for India, USA, and Saudi Arabia and UK. Okay. So now, and here I have another table where we have a country. Okay. So now, and now we have case type, right? Okay, so now this time let's modify the screen. Okay, so here we'll go here and then mm, okay. So now I'll so it drop down. So let's create one property as a country, and then okay, this country drop down will come from a data page. So already we have one country, this one, right? So now we'll use the same one. So can name. So in the backend, I'll be storing the code. I mean, whatever the, let's say if I'll select India, then I'll not store in the table as India. I'll store in the table as IND, the code, country code. But of course, right? I mean, if I'll show SA, so to the user, code SA, like it can be Saudi Arabia, it could be South Africa, so like that. So in that case, like we'll show the name, full name to the user, so that user will not get confused with the backend. Like we'll store the code. So now for this is done. And now we'll add another drop-down property. Sorry, not checkbox. Drop-down property as for the states. Okay. Okay, data page. And here also we have one data page, right, for the state list. Okay, and then the property for a value again, if it's it is code, we'll store the code in the backend, and we will show the name of the state to the user. Okay, so now let's save this one and save entire thing. Okay, so now let me just close everything, and now what will happen is, okay, so now in this one, so for the country, I mean, we have the India, United States of America, United Kingdom, Saudi Arabia, and all this stuff. So now if I select India, okay, so now you can see here another state, like, I mean, I'm getting all the states, Telangana, Tamil Nadu, and like California, Texas, like, and all the states basically, right? And which is actually not, uh, which is actually not correct, right? So in that case, like what to do, like why? Because this data page, like whatever the data page which we are using to fetch the state list, which basically like it is giving you all the records. So what basically we can do is we can just parameterize this data page. So already we know it, the parameterized data page, right? So now let's parameterize it and we'll say it as country code, like whatever, like you can give any parameter name, and then then you can just go to your report definition, open it up, and then in the report definition also just give the parameter, same parameter code, and say it's a text one. Okay, and just delete this unwanted fields. Okay, so now here, like, I mean, I want like, only those one where that country code is equals to the parent dot code, like, whatever that, it will user has selected it. So, okay, so just save it and then save this report data page as well. Okay, and then also one more change, you have to like, just say pass this parameter page with this is important. Okay, so now let's before implementing it, so now let's run this data page, and now let's say India IND. Okay, so now I can see that the Pega is giving you only two records, and what are those two records? You can basically see it in the PX results. Okay, so and now it's like, so now it's working. So then like, so here so now like, let's use this one, like, let's configure this in our section. So now let's go to the section rule. Okay, now it's parameterized. So now this parameter value basically will come from this property, right? The country property. Mm, okay, so now let's try it out. Like, so now let's create another like case. And now let's say India, and now you can see that Tamil Nadu and Telangana. And now if I'll select the United States of America, you can see California and Texas. And now if you say United Kingdom, we'll see London. And now if I'll say Saudi Arabia, you can see only Riyadh. And now if we'll say Australia, for Australia, we haven't added any, uh, value basically. And now if you don't select anything, and now if you see that, like, if you're not selecting anything, the Pega is giving you all, I mean, the second state, like, it is giving you all the values again, like, which is not correct, right? I mean, it should be like, if you're not selecting anything, so this drop down should also be blank. So for that, basically what you have to do is in the report definition, which is giving the state list. So what you can do is whenever you have the parameter, right? So just go to the setting icon or gear icon, say just check this, use null if empty. That means like, it will act as a null and it will not return anything. So now if you again refresh the screen, okay, so now yeah, if I'll select India and okay, the India related fields will come. But now if I don't select anything and now here also it will not come anything. Okay, so now that is what like that use now if empty, will do it. Okay, so now this again the same behavior. Saudi Arabia, United America, and like that. So, like, so again, yeah, so this was pending for a long time. Like, just wanted to show you, like, I guess one of you have asked this, right? This kind of a scenario, like, what to do, like, how to get this kind of a scenario. So this is how basically we do it. And in the real time also we do it in the same way, like, with the help of a data transform, we do the same thing. Like, I mean, this data transform, we don't have to do any parameterize this data page. Sorry, not the from data page. So this one, like, for this data page, like, don't have to do anything because it has to return all the values. But in that state one, we have to parameterize it. So what we have done, so this state one, what we have done, we have parameterized it with the code, and this code value will basically will come from that will, and whatever that user will enter it over here, let's say India, then in the backend this country property will have the value as IND. So now that IND, so that IND will go to this data page, and this data page will take that IND, then and this that IND Pega will, sorry, that data page will pass it to this report definition. So this will pass it to this report definition only when you will say that, I have to pass that parameter page, okay? And then this data report definition will open, and now this param.code is equals to IND, and then the IND, only that IND related values that this report definition will fetch it from the table and will store it in the table. And like that, okay? So this is how. And yeah, another thing, like, so I've told you, right, data page will not go to again and again to the table. But let's say if you change the parameter for now, let's say, like, if it's India, like if I'll select India, and now let's say if it is giving you Telangana and Tamil Nadu, all right? But now, but if it's a parameter data page, so now again, if I select, let's say India only, then again, like, the data page will not load again and get the data Telangana and Tamil Nadu. But now if I'll select the United States of America, because I have changed the parameter, right? So now for this data page, I mean, this, which is the data page which is used to get this state list, for that the parameter has changed, right? So now when the parameter has changed, then the Pega will say, okay, with the same parameter, is that value exist in the clipboard? If the answer is no, then the Pega will again hit the table and get the data. Now, for example, now again, if it's now that, in the clipboard, you will see the data will be present for India and United States of America. But now if I'll change this to United Kingdom, then the Pega again will hit the table and get the data for you, London. Okay, and again, if I'll go to India, again, okay, so now the Pega, like, will not hit the table and get the data, because already for the same parameter, India, like, the already that, data page, will be exist in the clipboard, so like that. So this is how, data page behaves basically, okay? Okay, so if there are no questions, I mean, that is it, like, for today, like, I don't have anything else, like, so I have only, like, say about data.
Pankaj point out.
Oh, yeah,
Sorry.
please, yeah, please.
So for example, like now we are displaying the state list and we are like selecting and we are doing it right. For
Mhm.
example, based on the country I have selected, I should display it with okay. Based on that only we have done savable, right? Okay, got it.
Achha, achha. Okay, yeah. So anyone know about localization, what it is mean? Okay, no idea, right? So now, for example, basically, like, there are some countries, right? Germany, France, Saudi Arabia, but they have their own languages. Basically, they're very keen, like, on their languages. Like for Germany, like, I mean, if you they're like, there's like, in India, right? I mean, we even though national language is Hindi, but still, like, we talk in English. But they're like, they are very, very strict about their languages. Even their even that whatever that applications they develop, right? I mean, they ask all that companies, like, whatever the applications we develop for them, like Germany, Saudi Arabia, like, that has to be in their regional language. For example, in Saudi Arabia, they speak Arabic, like, Arabic basically. So that one. So now tomorrow we'll see basically how we can localize our application, like, whatever the application that we have developed till now, how can we change this to the another language, basically, like, we'll take example of German, like, we'll be translating our everything, all the application whatever we developed, right, loan application, will translate it into German. And in the similar way, yeah, I mean, and just you can just follow the same procedure to translate that application in any other language, I mean, depending upon your requirement, like that. So tomorrow, like, we'll be seeing